Hi, I'm James Schellinglaw for Insider Travel Report. I'm here on the last day of ILTM Con, and we're meeting wonderful luxury suppliers and wonderful tour operators and people who have incredible lodges. And my friend here is Yalsa Yorub-Shoro, who is the founder and CEO of a company you may have heard of before, Nomadic Expeditions. And he also has the Three Camel Lodge. And where are they going? Mongolia. You thought exotic destination. Now this is one, and we're going to talk to you about this wonderful company and all you can find it. And it's for your clients, one of the more exotic trips ever. So please stay tuned. And this is Insider Travel Report. Yalsa, first of all, it's great to meet you here. It's wonderful. And tell us a little bit about how you formed. You first formed Nomadic Expeditions, right?
Correct. So I started Nomadic Expeditions as following a request from the first democratic prime minister of Mongolia. They became a democracy in 1990. It took me about 2 years to get clients to go to Mongolia back then. It was
you were of Mongolian descent too.
I grew up in the first Mongolian community in the Western Hemisphere, which was in Monmouth County, New Jersey. And
of course it was, right?
Well, also home of the first Lamas Buddhist temple in America.
Really?
So it was an interesting.
You naturally gravitated because you thought, I need to expose my home country originally, and my family's home country.
Obviously, it's my ancestral homeland, Mongolia. We come from a group that had come to be known as the Kalmyk Mongols that settled after many centuries in what's now northwestern China. They ended up migrating in the 1600s to a portion where the Volga River and the Caspian Sea meet in Russia. So that region came to be known as Kalmykia. And Kalmykia was one of the former 18 autonomous regions of the former Soviet Union. But, fast forward, 1990, Mongolia became a democracy and a peaceful revolution. Mm-hmm. And I had maintained contact through my uncles and relatives with the only presence the government of Mongolia had, which was then a communist country, and it had a mission to the United Nations on East 77th Street. There's even a great story about when I was a young man, 20 years old or 21, my uncle wanted to borrow a van of mine, and I told him I wouldn't lend him my second-hand van, but I'd help him whatever he needed. And so on a Sunday morning, we carried a live sheep, to East 77th Street and shoved it into the back of a Cadillac with the ambassador to the UN because they hadn't had any fresh mutton.
Oh, my God.
So they shared the...
So you were a food supplier, too.
Well, this was this local community in New Jersey, in Monmouth County, Howell Township. We had people, no two homes looked alike. It was a small subdivision of Russians and Mongolians. In fact, my parents fled from Stalin into the arms of Hitler and ended up being interned in displaced persons camps in Germany, where two of my brothers passed away.
Well, you got a life story. You should write the book.
I don't know about that, but anyway, again,
so
1990.
Finally you saw a business opportunity to do Nomadic Expeditions, and when did you start that?
Well, to be perfectly frank, Nomadic Expeditions was never a business investment. It was, I knew it had to be successful and that there would be an interest, but we focused on targeting educational institutions like alumni groups, Harvard, Stanford, museums, and nonprofits. And that was our original source of clients. And eventually it led to where we built 10 years after our expeditions took off, and they did. Many people came to explore Mongolia with us. We became the most productive luxury or high-end, because it was all about service. Luxury is an arbitrary term.
Now, where do people go when they go to Mongolia? What are I'm sure you have different itineraries because it's a big country.
Absolutely. I like to tell Texans it's twice the size of Texas. It's about the size of Alaska or all of Western Europe. So Mongolia certainly has three major ecosystems. You have a continuation of the taiga in the north, which is a continuation of the largest forest on earth from Siberia into the northern 10% of Mongolia. In the west, you have the high Altai Mountains, the tallest peaks, including Mount Huitin, which is just under 15,000 feet. and that's also home to the westernmost province is Bayanulgi, which is home to ethnic Kazakhs who've lived there for over 2 centuries that practice the art of eagle hunting. So I'm proud to say I co-founded the Golden Eagle Festival back in '99 after a few too many vodkas and being caught in a snowstorm.
I guess you have to do a few vodkas to go.
You think of doing an Eagle Festival, but that festival continues. I was one of the original co-founders. Unfortunately, 2 of my co-founders passed away, who are local Kazakhs. But the festival continues. We've changed the board and function of it. We've got scientists and biologists because obviously we never anticipated. It was never designed for tourism. We didn't bring clients for the first 5 or 6 years. It was because this tradition, which was abolished and disappeared in Kazakhstan during the communist period, kind of flew under the radar. But yet, because of the fur trade, which is what they train these golden eagles to hunt, mammals that are carnivores like sable, mink, foxes, wolves, that became unpopular, and so it diminished. And there were only probably 10 to 15 families that had eagles when I saw them in '99. We came up with the idea of the festival through our creative thinking under the blur of some vodka. And anyway, we founder and funder have only 1 letter difference, so we had to fund this, and we've been funding it ever since. So, but now it's become great that we've helped open the cultural center there.
You will have tours that will feature this festival.
The festival is every first weekend of October always. There's even actually other competing festivals that have sprung up.
So you have these. How long are generally these tours, nomadic expeditions in Mongolia?
To really see and experience some of the other ecosystems, like the Gobi Desert, one of the richest paleontological meccas in the world. First dinosaur eggs on Earth were discovered. The famous fighting dinosaurs, things like that discovered in the Gobi. And then in the north, I was saying you have the taiga, so you've got the mountainous region, you have the lake and forest region in the north, and there are many great rivers flowing through Mongolia. And then you have the Gobi Desert, which is also considered this mystical place. So to really try to explore more than one ecosystem and get some of the diversity of the beautiful country and its vastness. And you got to remember this too, it's as large, I told you how large it is, there's only population is about 3.5 million people
in this entire area that's bigger in the
capital is home to about 1.8 of them.
Oh, okay.
So literally,
what's the capital again?
Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, which now I'm happy to say also. They have direct flights. When I say direct flights, they have nonstop. They have flights that connect through Tokyo Narita Airport. United Airlines is offering flights to Ulaanbaatar on United aircraft. So it's only taking.
It's easier to get there. Yeah.
Yes, it is, and there's obviously other connections. Gateway cities like Tokyo is one of the main ones, and also Seoul, Korea. But I'm really proud also because we built a lodge in the Gobi Desert that's.
Well, that's the one you in addition to the tour operation, you also have built the 3 Camel Lodge. And when did you build that?
Well, we started construction in '99, and we finished in 2002. It opened fully for business, and it's evolved since then. But it is, I believe, one of the most conservation-oriented and sustainable lodges in the world. And we were members of National Geographic's unique lodges of the world when it existed, and from its kind of DNA sprang. I'm proud to be a member of Beyond Green, which is...
No, and I know Beyond Green very well. We were talking to Lindsay Uberoth, who's Preferred Hotels created Beyond Green, and you're a member of that. That's great.
Well, we're really happy with that, and obviously Beyond Green was acquired, and Lindsay invested in Preferred Hotels, their division of Beyond Green. They started that just prior to COVID, and they stuck with it, and their commitment remains. In fact, we're happy that we'll be hosting the summit of the Beyond Green members in the Gobi Desert at the 3 Camel Lodge next year.
Fantastic. And maybe I'll tell you, I may try to go there. Let's see what happens. But so you've created this business that really is featuring a country that maybe is not on everybody's radar screen, but should be, right?
Well, I think certainly there's no danger. There's some really amazing, unspoiled, vast, wonderful wilderness to explore, and also deep culture. Genghis Khan, as we call him, as opposed to Genghis Khan, was the largest contiguous empire in the history of the world. And having grown up in the Western educational system, I studied Julius Caesar and what the great conquest and the empire, the Roman Empire. But I came to learn that Genghis Khan was not just a barbaric emperor. He had the largest, 4 times the size of the Roman Empire, but he also practiced freedom of religion, never enslaved women or children, built more physical bridges over rivers than any conqueror in the world. So those are things that don't necessarily come up.
No, we don't know that at all. I mean, we have that image of Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, you said.
Exactly. So you don't establish an empire that lasted, that at its peak, for 300 years, quite a few years longer than the United States of America has been in existence.
You are opening my eyes to all of this. I knew about a little bit about Mongolia, and where do the people stay in the lodge? But then we always think you're going to stay in like a yurt or something like that.
Well, actually, our guest rooms at Three Camel Lodge are yurts, and the yurt is an amazing structure. There's a famous architect physicist named Buckminster Fuller.
I know that.
Stayed in the yurt in the late 40s, I believe, and he looked at the cylindrical structure that had this lattice wall that was collapsible, and during winds and high pressure from the outside, 60, 70 mile an hour winds, he noticed how this wall structure absorbed the pressure.
Wow.
So as physicist architects think, he said, this diamond shape, if I bisect this, I should be able to create a curve in 2 directions. Right. So that's what inspired the creation of the geodesic dome.
Oh, so you are well ahead of your time, right?
So I think the culture, our Mongolian culture, and obviously it's my DNA. Mongolian was my first language. I thrilled my father, who passed away, who in a community of immigrants when I was 14, instilled in me and made me speak Mongolian. It was my first language. So that somehow, 20 years after he was gone, I reconnected with my ancestral homeland and the roots.
And how often do you go to Mongolia yourself?
Well, I just got back about 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and from the Golden Eagle Festival, and I was there earlier in August. So I go as often as I can. There have been times, some years I spent 6 months there, but not continuously. I wish I could, but I'm a carpenter by trade, and we have a very also sustainable. We're trying to be a pioneer, and we are pioneers in construction in New Jersey, and New York, and Pennsylvania.
Fantastic. Well, this is an incredible story. It sounds like an incredible experience that you can deliver both with Nomadic expeditions as well as the Three Camel Lodge, which everybody's talking about sustainable travel now, but you are actually the definition of sustainable travel, right?
Well, the nomadic way of life, you're not going to find a culture. And by the way, it's the largest horse-based nomadic culture in the most sparsely populated country in the world. And so when you leave the capital, you'll see people who are still raising their goats, sheep, and livestock, and moving their homes 3 or 4 times a year. The yurt, or guerra as we call it, is extremely mobile. It's versatile, and it's also the inspiration for other construction. So, but no, it's an amazing destination, and we love sharing it.
Now, give me the URLs, the websites where our travel advisors can find out more about nomadic expeditions as well as Three Camel Lodge.
The www.threecamellodge.com and also nomadicexpeditions.com.
Fantastic. Well, it's been fascinating here at the very last day to find you and to talk with you about this incredible company. And we all talk about, as I said, sustainability and a place that maybe nobody really thinks about going, but there's so much value to going for everyone, I think.
Well, I really appreciate the time with you, and we're happy to share this. I think Mongolia gives people an opportunity to experience history, culture, nature. We say only in wide open spaces do you truly have vision. And we also have another famous saying that's Mongolian. My father used to say it, but it's better to see it once than hear of it 1,000 times. So
here we are. So please go to Mongolia and see it once for yourself, if not several times. I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.